Hello, family, and welcome to another episode of Role Model Makers Experts Cafe. I'm your host, Dr. L, the Parent Whisperer, and today with me, I have an amazing lady. We are so blessed to have such amazing experts in our community. Miss Jen Beck has been with us in our community for a while. I love how she shows up in the world, and I'm so glad, Jen, that you were able to take time out of your busy schedule to be here and tell our audience members a little bit more about what you do. And audience members, thank you for tuning in. So, Jen, tell us a little bit more about what you do and how you got started doing it and why people should stop multitasking and pay attention to what we're about to discuss.
Well, first of all, it's because I'm on your show, and that's the first reason why they need to stop multitasking and focus. Thank you very much for having me. I'm excited to be here. So I help folks to be able to really understand how to nourish and nurture their bodies for their body's unique needs, how to plan and implement it, and really how to manage their stress and optimize themselves so that they can live a life that they love and have a wonderful abundance of energy and health to be able to live that. I got started because of my mom's health. I didn't grow up with nutrition knowledge. I was not, I would say I was not even born into a healthy family. My mom had multiple sclerosis my entire life. And at the age when I was 26, she was 49. And at the age of 49, she went from living on her own to being in a nursing home in 6 weeks. And she had been on every preventative medication to make sure that that very thing didn't happen. I was like, well, clearly the medications aren't working. Something has to help her though. So I went on a personal mission of whatever I could do to help her. And at the same time, help myself. My mom had MS, my grandma had MS, my aunt had MS. And I was like, I don't want to go there. And so in my research, I ended up meeting a pharmacist, a doctor of pharmacy, and he was teaching about the healing benefits of superfoods at a conference. Well, during his talk, he was talking about his wife who had had MS for 26 years. Same as my mom. And after his talk, I see the two of them waltzing across the ballroom, and she's virtually untouched. My mom had been walking with a cane since I was about 7 or 8. And so I was like, what drugs are you on? Her results were so much better than my mom's. I figured if my mom had been on whatever this woman had been on, she'd have better results too. And she looked at me dead in the face. She goes, oh, I'm not on any medications. No, my husband didn't believe in them. Your husband didn't believe in the medications? He's a pharmacist. She's like, yeah, but the benefits basically were outweighed by the side effects, and the population studies were too short and too small. I said, well, what did you do? And she goes, I just built my body up with diet, supplements, and exercise. And I grew up in the Midwest. We had a lot of hamburger helper, tuna noodle casserole, Salisbury steak out of the freezer with a can of green bean and instant potatoes. Like, it was not nutritionally dense, not the way I eat today, for sure. And my mom never really exercised, and she took supplements for like 6 months when I was in 6th grade and said, they're too expensive, I'm not doing it. But it got me curious, like, what if my mom had done what Dr. Susser's wife had done? Would her results have been different? Just like, in my mind, and the drugs. So I started researching, and I saw people, as I researched, I saw people reversing MS and heart disease and cancer and diabetes and fibromyalgia and Alzheimer's and every disease that I thought was a life sentence. These people were reversing by changing their diet and lifestyle. So I went back to school for nutrition, and the School of Nutritional Sciences out in California. And since then, I've been helping people to transform their health, to really reclaim their health, to recharge their lives, and to do it through baby steps. I truly believe it doesn't have to be hard. It can be permanent. And in many cases, even ladies, if you're over 40, it can still feel effortless to release weight permanently, to be able to have amazing energy, and to just feel like you're thriving every single day.
Jen, you give me so much hope because sometimes, especially with family and my kids, and when I see other families, I just scratch my head. I'm like, how can people navigate through all of this noise that's out there to be able to find their way to health? And if I didn't have my degree, where would I be with being able to get there? So I really love the fact that you actually took the responsibility upon yourself to go through all of that and figure these details out. And what I wanted to ask you is, what are the typical things that people come and complain to you about? That's the starting point, the realization that, hey, something has to change.
Yeah, I think there's a couple things that I see more often than not. One is weight, right? And so often we think that if we just lose the weight, everything will get better. And many times we've been to our doctor and they go, if you just lose the weight, your health will improve. So they make the weight the issue, or make the weight the thing that we need to solve, without realizing that there's 12 physical root causes of why our body stores weight. And there's another 8 emotional reasons why our body stores weight. So if we just try and cut calories or work out more or do the traditional things to lose weight, but we don't address the root cause of why the weight is there in the first place, we just cycle back and we cycle back and we cycle back. I talk about it being like chutes and ladders. You work really, really hard to climb the ladder and then you go, oh, thank God I'm there. And we go, woo, go right back down to where we started, because we haven't changed our identity. We haven't changed the reasons why we do what we do, which I call what's under the under, right? There are experiences, our influences, our programming and conditioning, our relationship with food and with ourselves. Because if we don't change what's below the surface, if we think about it like an iceberg, we don't change below the surface, we can never see lasting change above the surface. So weight is a huge piece that I see a lot of. The other one is more chronic pain and chronic disease, whether that is, pre-diabetes and diabetes, or chronic pain, which is back pain, knee pain, joint pain, you name it. And I take the same approach with all of them, because again, it's about the root cause of why it's there in the first place. When you address that, you can create lasting change.
The concerns that you mentioned, I understand a lot of parents might be struggling with it, but at the same time, we have parents, so naturally their focus is on the children. But I also hear from parents that, oh, let them just be kids. So is there a minimum age for people to start focusing on health?
No, there's not. I mean, it starts in utero. The healthier you eat and the healthier you live during pregnancy will determine how well the cells are functioned and formed, right? I mean, the more omegas that a mom takes while she's pregnant, the more brain power and cellular health the baby has. So I don't think it's ever too early to start, because of our optimal health and because of our relationship with food. I have an 8-year-old, so I'm in the midst of this right now. And her dad and I have divorced. And so she has polar opposite parents in how we view food. Like, I am ultra healthy and optimize my health as much as possible. And the household he grew up in was very much around food is fun and entertainment and comfort and all of the things. So we have very polar opposite ways of looking at things. And I think that there's balance, right? It's not all or nothing. Like, do I have a container of dairy-free Ben & Jerry's in my freezer? Yes. Will it be there for a while? Yes. Right. But it's looking at, like, how do we optimize health and enjoy an indulgence that's up leveled, right? It's an upgrade from all of the junk that's on the shelves that are out there. It's not all or nothing. If we do all or nothing, if anybody's ever been on a diet, most of them are all or nothing. And we can sustain it for a couple of days, maybe a couple of months, but not for a lifetime. So there's a time and a place for indulgences and all of that, but I don't think it's ever too young to instill foundational principles and start looking at health. I think my daughter was 4 when she learned that a balanced meal was protein, fiber, and fat. And she will tell you that. Now, does she always eat that all the time? No, but she knows what a healthy foundation is. So I believe in principles versus meal plans and, all of the regimented things. Got to have flexibility and health at the same time.
That was just music to my ears: protein, fiber, and fat. So tip number 1, guys, I hope you took notes on that, because it just went so quickly, but that's the depth of this. That's really important. Jen, so let's talk about tips and suggestions for those people who are listening to this. What would be the number 1 or the one thing that you would say would be the takeaway, the thing that they should do to start moving in the right direction?
Yeah, I think whenever we can focus on whole foods, Like think back, the stuff that God put on the earth initially, whether it's grown from the earth or raised on the earth. More often than not, when we can focus on those foods first, we're going to have a higher nutrition profile in what we consume. One of the biggest challenges that we're eating all these franken foods. We're eating all this processed foods that has very little nutrition in it. I mean, if it can sit on a shelf for a couple of years, like how much nutrition is really there? I should have brought it with me, Dr. L, but I have a McDonald's hamburger from 2005. And it still looks the same. It's a little bit harder, like it's dried now, but there's not a spot of mold on it. There's no decay, there's no anything. So if you think about it, like what we put into our bodies becomes part of us. It's what our cells are made from. So if you're eating more dead food or shelf-stable food, then you are foods that are going to die in the next 3 to 5 days, or that will spoil in 3 or 4 hours after being cooked. Like we need to eat more real food. So focus first on whole foods, real nutrition, so that you get the vitamins and nutrients in there.
Beautiful. I know nutrition can get really kind of pervasive, and it is pervasive. It's very important and everything. You also mentioned something regarding not necessarily the physical part, but the mental and the emotional. So do you have any tips on that for our audience members?
There's a whole host of things. One of the biggest things is to manage your stress levels throughout the course of the day. Don't wait for them to hit a 9 or a 10 on a scale of 1 to 10, or sometimes a 15, right? There's little things that you can do throughout the course of your day just to be able to bring it back down. So if it's getting to a 4 or a 5, you can take a few deep breaths and bring it back down to a 1 or a 2. Big things happen, but the more that you can be able to manage your nervous system and staying calm and grounded, the more effective you are during those stressful situations. So just doing something as simple as taking 5 deep breaths, where you're breathing in for a count of at least 4 and exhaling for a count of at least 7, right? The exhale is really what brings us back to grounding. So when we can be able to get back into our body, you can put your hand on your heart as well. That will put you back in touch with your body. But the goal is to be able to manage your stress levels. Not only that, but when you are in one of those emotional eating spins, pause, right? Just take a pause and go, why do I want this? Instead of just eating, because sometimes it's like we go to the pantry and we eat something sweet. I didn't do it. And we eat something fatty. I didn't do it. We eat something crunchy. Oh, I didn't really do it. Then we go to salty. Oh, that's still not. Then we keep going back through all the different food groups, looking for something that's going to fulfill the void. But if we can pause and go, okay, so why do I want this? Is it physical? This is an acronym, right? So P is for physical. A is for agitated. U is for unfulfilled. S is for stressed. And E is for exhausted. Like, why do I want what I want right now? What am I trying to fix with what I'm about to put in my mouth? If it's physical, then it's like an apple, broccoli, or chicken will satisfy that. If that's not true, then it's some other emotional need that you have instead. So just pausing allows us to be in control and make a choice that's more nourishing and nurturing for our bodies.
I love that. I love that. Wonderful. And I know that there's a lot more to this. So how can people connect with you and learn more about all the wonderful stuff that you have?
Yeah, so I mean, I'm all over social media. Jen Beck, Complete Health Revolution. And my website is completehealthrevolution.com. There's blog posts that are on there. I'm on YouTube with videos. Just search Complete Health Revolution. And Dr. Al, for those of you, for those people that are in your audience that are really in a place where they're like, I need to make some changes now, whether it's for themselves or their family, I have a couple spots that I've opened up in my calendar that will allow us to be able to do what I call a barrier breakthrough session. This is like, I'm doing all the things and I'm not getting success. So I've got a couple a week that I open up my schedule. And if you go to talkwithjenbeck.com, so talkwithjenbeck.com, you can be able to take advantage of one of those sessions. It's normally a $497 value. So, but I love your community, and I know how challenging it can be as a parent and as an individual to try and make all the changes when we're bombarded with all kinds of information. And it's like, where do I start? I've done all the things. I just need some clarity. And that's really what this barrier breakthrough session is for, is to be able to help you identify what is the thing that's stopping you from being successful.
Wow, Jen, that is generous, and I know that that is a game changer. Because I know that when it comes to diet and lifestyle, you know, we are a product of how we were raised and our culture and all these social influences. So you really need that kind of support. So I really appreciate you having that generous offer for our audience members. So thank you so much. Guys, I want to make sure that you actually look, because not only that, but Jen has listed so many other resources for you guys there. So do go to the description box below and check the information that she has provided for you. And we talked about this earlier, Jen, that's, you know, it's one thing to want to start early on health, but it's difficult when your kids see you do all kinds of unhealthy things in your lifestyle, and then you expect them to do something healthy when they don't have a model for it. So please role model the behavior. Number one, make sure that you connect with Jen and the resources and the support that she's provided for you. Because what that shows is that it's okay if you don't have all the answers. It's okay to ask for help, and our kids need to know that. And also, the world is not a scary place. That's, you know, there are good people wanting to make it a better place. And we should always try to connect. As connected as this world is, we seem to be more and more disconnected. So do connect with Jen. If you haven't already done so, connect with us in the channel by clicking subscribe. That way you get notified of all the experts that come on the show, share their expertise and their gifts like Jen, and you get notified of those as well. Jen, this has been amazing. Any final words for our audience members before we finish today?
Just start with one step at a time. You don't have to overhaul everything in one day. I do have I want to mention it real quick. I have a special gift for your audience as well. And it is a 5-day real food challenge that's guaranteed to help you stay on track and keep you satisfied. This is something that you can be able to do with your family. As you just said beautifully, Dr. Ella, it's really a matter of leading by example. And you don't have to be perfect. Just be intentional. But this 5-day food challenge will give you a great jumpstart that you can include your family with. And a family that preps and eats together stays healthy together.
Beautiful. Awesome. Well said. Thank you, Dr. Jen. And thank you, audience members, for staying with us. Until next time. Cheers.